Hello and welcome to the May coffee tasting subscription video, or whatever we call it. This is the video where I taste the 3 coffees we send out to all our subscribers around the world. And we're going to send these coffees out on the first Wednesday of May. So that means, after a couple of days, you normally will have it in your mailbox. I recommend resting the coffees a little bit before you taste them. And I also recommend tasting them side by side, like I'm going to do today. If you want to learn how to do that, we have a cupping tutorial on our YouTube channel. If you don't know what the coffee subscription is, you can subscribe to Tim's Choice, we call these subscriptions, where I choose 3 coffees every month that we send out to all our subscribers around the world. Yes, we do ship worldwide with DHL. And also, of course, because we're based in Norway, we send a lot of coffees to Norway. Normally it takes a few days from when we ship the coffee until you get it into your mailbox. And you can subscribe from 1 to 6 bags. So if you subscribe to 6 bags, you get 2 of each of these coffees. If you subscribe to 2 bags, you get 1 of the first coffee and 1 bag of the second coffee. And so it goes. You can also stop the subscription at any time and resubscribe at any time at your convenience. Cool, May is here, so that means we are launching some coffees from Finca Tamana. Of course, Finca Tamana has a harvest a little bit later than the other farms we buy from in the year. So they normally start the harvest in April and they harvest throughout August. But of course, now with the climate change and everything in Colombia, there's harvest all year round if you want. But Elias actually cleans the trees after the kind of last good picking. He just cleans the trees so that the trees can rest until the next harvest. In Colombia, there are normally 2 harvests on each farm, like more defined harvests. The main harvest and then the mitaca. Mitaca means a small harvest, and it's very different from region to region. Even in the same micro-region, you can have one farm having the main harvest in April, May, June, whereas the other one has the mitaca then. And then if you drive 1 hour or 2 hours to another area, it's complete opposite. So it's really a country with a lot of diversity when it comes to coffee. And it also means you can get fresh coffees all year round if you really want to. But we only buy from Finca Tamana at the moment. Of course, from my own farm as well, Finca El Suelo. But the volumes there are so small, so we are not able to send it out to our subscribers. I've been buying coffee from Elias since 2012. We have been working very intensely with him for many, many years, in order to help him improve not just the process of the coffee. That was kind of the first thing we did. We changed how he ferments the coffee, how he separates each daily picking, store the coffee in grain pro bags, he dries the coffee on the shade and so on. And that has really helped the coffee stay fresh for a longer time, so that means we have increased the shelf life of the coffee. And actually behind me here in the fridge I have coffees from 3 and 4 years behind us. And I recently cupped coffee that was 2 years old and comparing to 1 year old and this coffee, and can't really taste the difference. I mean, there's a difference in quality because you have different growing seasons, but you can't really taste that the coffees are aging, which is quite incredible. So these coffees are actually from 2025. As I said, Elias starts to harvest in April and it goes throughout July. We normally buy the coffees that are harvested in June and July because that's the peak of the harvest, and that's when it's very easy for Elias to pick a good amount of red cherry so that it's easy to process to maintain the good quality. And with the other pickings, he's free to sell them to whomever he wants, of course, but sometimes he just brings it to the market if we know that it's not very good quality, or if it has good quality, he can offer it to other roasters, for instance. So we have built a cupping lab on the farm there. I donated a Rust sample roaster to the Don Elias. So whenever we're there, we always cup through samples to help him evaluate the coffees. His daughter is also working with him, Jurani Roa, and she's actually my farm manager at Finca El Suelo. And she's also a very good cupper and is now helping Elias with evaluating samples and so on. Maybe in the future we will be buying from some more farms in Colombia because Jurani has her own farm. We have Diego, my godson, and Derlin, Diego is the barista champion. Derlin is the famous baker in Garzon. And they also have a farm, so maybe we will increase our selections in the future. We'll see. Cool, so these coffees are from last year. They're more or less harvested in June and July. 3 different varieties grown on the same farm, and that means you will be able to taste what actually matters for me the most, and that is the taste of place and the taste of cultivar. I'm not so into the heavily processed coffees because I just find those flavors to be quite similar regardless of where the coffee was grown. So it's kind of like you're flavoring the coffee with ferment flavor, and you kind of mask a little bit the taste of what we call terroir, or the taste of place, and the cultivar. I've chosen 3 pretty distinct cultivars for this May subscription, so that you're able to taste the difference. Because, for instance, if I had chosen 2 different pickings of Variedad Colombia, they taste so similar that it's, you know, not so interesting to taste, to be honest. When I'm there and selecting coffees, we go through almost 100 samples where we cup. Maybe 40 of them are Variedad Colombia, and it's just one sample represents one daily picking, and it's very, very small differences, fortunately, among the coffees. So what we're doing then is maybe just to remove the lots that are not good, if they have issues with phenol, or if it was fermented a little bit too long, or if there's some, you know, immature coffees or something like that. Last year the growing season was pretty difficult, I would say, for Don Elias. They had a lot of rain during the harvest, and that meant the drying times were too slow. So they actually had a lot of coffee that went moldy because they didn't have enough drying capacity. So when I was cupping there, normally the quality is very, very stable, and very small variations between the best and the lowest scoring coffees. And last year you had like some coffees that were really, really good, but also some coffees that were just terrible because they were moldy or had phenol. But fortunately, Elias produces a lot of coffee, so we had enough that we could buy. You know, there is a risk to grow coffee in these days. And even if you have like plastic dryers with shade and everything, if it's just cloudy and rainy all day, the coffee doesn't dry efficiently. So we actually asked him to remove some of the shade when it was too cloudy in order to dry the coffee efficiently. Okay, should we start tasting? Let's start with the first coffee. And the first coffee is a staple coffee from this farm. It's the Variedad Colombia. Variedad Colombia is a mix between Timor hybrid, which is a natural Arabica and Robusta crossing. And they took that plant and cross-pollinated it with Caturra. And then they have planted those seeds, selected the best children of that tree, taken seeds from them, planted those seeds again, selected the best children of them, and they've done so for 5 generations. And then they released what they call Variedad Colombia, which is now a rust-tolerant, leaf rust-tolerant hybrid. It's not resistant. And you can see that when you're at Tamana, you have fields with only Variedad Colombia full of leaf rust. So the cultivar was kind of made or developed to be resistant against leaf rust, but it's not so anymore. So yeah, it's a bit more tolerant than, for instance, Caturra, which is a disaster when it comes to leaf rust. You will see the trees are attacked all the time. So it's a bit more safe for Elias to grow this coffee. And the quality is pretty good, at least on this farm. It normally outperforms the Caturra. Maybe there's a lot or two of Caturra that will cup a little bit higher, but in general, Variedad Colombia tastes better because it has less problems with the rust. Wow. So don't expect this coffee to be the most fruity or kind of wild flavors. What I really like about this coffee is the sweetness. It's so sweet, has this kind of caramelly, milk chocolatey sweetness. It's a bit herbal, of course. Most of the coffees from Tamana are a little bit herbal, I would say. But you don't really notice it when you only drink coffee from Tamana. But if you compare it to like a coffee from Ethiopia or Kenya, and then you go back to these Colombian coffees, instantly you have this kind of slight herbalness in the coffee. I don't mind that, but some people dislike it. I think with these coffees, at least the Variedad Colombia now, it's very subtle, so it's not so dominant. And the dominant flavors are more like caramel and sweetness, a little bit of fruit flavor. It's pretty hard to define the fruit flavor. It's just juicy, a little bit fruity, very sweet, rich, lingering. Has a little bit of this kind of plum flavor, plum kernel flavor. or when you make plum jam, you get this kind of marzipan-y flavor. I really like that. Not the highest acidity, but it's still quite bright and very kind of rich and smooth. I love drinking this coffee, especially in the mornings when I'm at the farm. Normally we have a big selection of coffees like Geisha and stuff, but I always go to this coffee because it's so just comforting to drink, I think. Not all coffees need to taste like a fruit bomb, you know? So first coffee, Variedad Colombia. These are only the large screens, so that means we use metal mesh screens on the dry mill to separate the larger beans from the smaller beans. And this particular lot is just the first picking of the first, let's say, June pickings of these coffees, and separated to only the larger beans. So we tend to find a little bit more acidity in the larger beans, a little bit less in the smaller beans, but that might also have to do with the roast. So I don't find it to be a huge difference on this farm, because it's not a lot of these kind of screen 20 and stuff. Whereas if in Kenya, for instance, when you buy a AA compared to an AB, I think the difference is bigger. You will find the AAs are normally outperform the ABs with better acidity and more intensity. And the AAs are the bigger screens. So screen 17, it's a technical term, but that's the kind of size of the holes and so on. All right, second coffee. I think we have sent out this coffee before, but it's never tasted as good as this. I think it's maybe the third or fourth year that we have this coffee. The name of the cultivar is Papayo. It's a local cultivar. I haven't genetically tested it, so I'm not completely sure what it is. It looks a little bit like a Pacamara, but it doesn't really taste that much of a Pacamara. This particular lot is very fruity, has a little bit of tropical fruit flavor, but not like a natural or what people call anaerobic fermented coffees or whatever. All these coffees are washed, so they're very clean and more subtle in the flavor profile. But this coffee, especially when you compare it to the Variedad Colombia, has this kind of very nice stone fruit, mango kind of flavors. Very juicy coffee, high acidity. I would say the mouthfeel is a bit lighter than the Variedad Colombia. It's more like a refreshing, fruity coffee. It's the first year where this coffee has been so distinct. It's taken some years. Normally when cultivars or when the plants are young, I tend to see that or find that the quality is not at its full potential until maybe you have stumped the trees and they come back, and then you really get the full potential of the coffee. So it's almost like you're turning up the volume button year after year. And we've seen this also with other coffees, for instance, El Vikingo in Honduras. I remember the Geisha from Marisabel and Moises. The first years were not as aromatic as they are now. We've found it on my farm with the Finca Tamana coffees. So I'm not sure if there's any scientific backing to this, but that's just my experience. Not everything has to be researched. Sometimes you just have to trust me. Compared to the Variedad Colombia, Variedad Colombia now tastes much more like chocolate, herbal, and Papayo, very bright, very fruity. Okay, the third coffee. Bit more floral. Very bright, citric, very light texture. Florals, a little bit of fruitiness, citrus, maybe some stone fruit there. Definitely florals. Quite delicate coffee, more tea-like. You have a little bit of this kind of green tea aftertaste, which I really like. This is actually a field blend of SL28 and Ethiopian and Geisha varieties. Why I say that is because we managed to find some SL28 seeds and Ethiopian seeds for Elias, planted many years ago. I think it was 2013. The farm manager back then was not very well organized. So he mixed a little bit of this Ethiopian and into a field of SL28. I know Elias has taken seeds from these trees and planted in a new area together with some geisha. And I know that's the real geisha because he also had some geisha that was mixed from the seeds that he got was mixed. But when he replanted it, he took only seeds from the trees that had cherries that tasted like geisha and the trees looked like geisha. So this is kind of like a blend in the field. It's not like you go and pick geisha and then SL28. It's like all the pickers go into this little lot, they pick all the cherries and just mix it. So it's kind of, more like a genetically diverse blend, I would say. Still, it tastes a lot like the SL28 and geisha that is typical from Tamana. These trees are also quite young. I think they haven't been stumped yet, so they're probably 4 or 5 years old. They're quite tall now, so hopefully next year they will be stumped. And they are growing under partial shade, so it's in a part of the farm where there is actually a little bit of shade. And we know that geisha needs shade in order to perform well. I think the farm needs more shade in general, but this is a part of the farm that actually has a little bit of shade. So don't expect it to be like a Panamanian geisha, which is full on, like very floral and distinct, where the volume button is on, full. This is more like volume 4, maybe 5, more subtle, a little bit floral, a little bit fruity, quite delicate, and a big contrast to the Variedad Colombia. Let's taste it. Variedad Colombia, so typical. It's such a recognizable coffee. Herbal, chocolate, caramel. The field blend SL28 Geisha being more, very tea-like, very floral, and quite delicate actually. Cool, so those are the 3 coffees we're sending out in May. We have a limited amount of, especially the Geisha and the Papayo, so most of it will go to our subscribers, but we might be able to sell a little bit online as well. If you are not subscribing, we will be probably offering a little bit online and also in our espresso bar in the future. All right, thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you will enjoy these coffees, and I also hope you will share them with a friend like I've been doing now, tasting them side by side. It makes a huge difference when it comes to describing flavor. It makes it so much easier, so highly recommend doing that. Till then, have a good May month.